County did their paving, they did do some culvert.
Okay.
Now Bryan County did same street, same road. That has helped a lot. A couple of places that used to be just, forget it.
Yeah.
You have a cloud go by and it's covered.
Okay, it is 5:30, so let's go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order.
All right. So I will take attendance. Tonight's meeting.
Hi, Devin. Thanks for being here, by the way.
Yes. It's Devin. Holly Resurgent,
Here,
Don Maxwell,
Here.
Don Hall. Devin, Blankenship,
Here.
Campbell's absent. Doug Wilson, here. Debbie Reed,
here,
Susan Tyler Salmon.
here.
All right, that's all 8 members mentioned, and we've got 5 in person to meet quorum and 1 virtual. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have the approval of the meeting minutes of May 15th, 2023. So that is the one that's available now. I'm still backlogged a bit on minutes, but I will be getting to those shortly. Hopefully by November, I will have 2 sets of minutes for you to review and approve. So I'll open the floor for discussion.
I didn't see anything.
I move we accept it as written.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve the meeting minutes. I'll take the roll. Holly Resurgent,
Yes.
Devin Blankenship,
Yes.
Doug Wilson,
Yes.
Debbie Reed,
Yes.
Don Hall, or excuse me, Don Maxwell,
Yes.
and Susan Tyler Salmon.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Okay, next on our items, we have nothing in the administrative business unless any members want to bring forth an administrative item. Leave that open for a moment. I know that for the last time we met, some members had attended the camp virtually. And then there was also the in-person conference. I believe Susan.
Which I attended.
Yes, that came in September. So those were 2 things I had on last month's agenda that was canceled. Just to briefly just mention those in case anyone wanted to talk about them. That's all I had.
Just a reminder to put those things on our Google Drive, continuing education hours.
I have my own calendar, I keep forgetting to do that. Maybe send me a reminder,
Okay.
or I need to go to do that.
Just so now we can get all our things on there.
And I can give you a report if you want it.
Sure.
Meeting was in Muncie, it's been a while since I've been in Muncie, and it's even more rundown than I remembered it being, but, the meetings all took place in a Masonic temple, and of course, the acoustics are always challenging for people with hearing aids. But I have this new app. I was able to actually hear, so thank you, I use speech and hearing. There was a lot of sessions, and I went through all 3 days and also attended the 106 sort of briefing on the first day, which I didn't really learn anything new on that. It was an interesting explanation of what the individuals from DNR want to see and don't want to see in applications. It wasn't really what I thought the description had explained it would be, but that's what it ended up being. And one of the sessions that really stuck out in my mind, which I love the idea, is that at Crown Hill, they are talking, and not unlike what we're talking about in terms of the dry stack stone walls. The title was To Not Forget the Landscape. And they talked from the perspective of their arborist. And you may have known Jean Reagan from this area. I've forgotten her second half of her name. She left DNR to go there. She was in charge of cemeteries and she went there. And the two of them were absolutely I was fantastic. And talked about the historic preservation of the cemetery grounds as an arboretum, if you will, and how they're caring for that, and you know how they can tell where trees used to be, and when you're digging this up, you're going to kill those trees. It was just this fantastic hour-and-a-half discussion about the importance of the bigger picture, which we've talked a little bit about. And another session touched on something that we've talked about a couple times of the houses of the workers. In Muncie in particular, one of the keynotes was about how when Chrysler moved out, how it decimated the city and different parts of the city, and nobody could build there. But there were areas where the houses were built for the workers at the Chrysler plant and the workers at Ball Brothers Glass. Thank you, my candy jars. Yes, it just reminded me of the need to look at the people that make that happen, not just the people who have the big bucks to build the mansions, but the importance of the landscape itself. Both of those I thought were just really great presentations. Thank you for letting me go.
Okay, well, if no one else has any administrative items to talk on,
Let me,
Sure.
chime in.
Yeah.
This fits under, administration. They don't mean to spend a lot of time on this, and they don't mean to those of us in the room, but getting quorum has been very problematic in the past few months for reasons somewhat beyond our control. But one of the issues that we're missing a ninth member. I was kind of brainstorming with a friend over the weekend, and I thought of a couple of people that I would try to encourage to apply. And I don't mean to strong arm anyone in this room, and but I just feel like it's something we should approach, and something we should do. So I had one person in particular in mind. I don't know if what we do is even on his radar, but he does do home renovations. He's very sensitive to trying to maintain buildings and houses inside and out as much as possible. The other idea I had about this was to approach some people I know. I graduated from the Department of History here with my graduate degrees. And I thought I would approach some of the people who I know who are still there to see if anyone is working on any sort of historic preservation project. Even if we had them for just a year or two with a member, it might be something. They could probably give us some valuable input, and I hate to put it this way, but it would give us perhaps a ninth member. So anyway, I just thought I would say I was going to do that, and maybe I'll come back in a month and go, all right, you know.
And I have a person, someone who's actually doing renovation in the Steinsville area. And she was intrigued, but I said, you come to a meeting. Couldn't come last month, she could come this month, so I'm hoping to get her next month.
Okay.
And then she might apply
Yeah,
from there, so I think that's part of it, is we need to fill that spot. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you.
yeah. I certainly don't mean to be in competition with anyone who has other ideas, but I'm just thinking, I feel like I need to do my part, at least by approaching. some people.
It reminds me, one of the other sessions at the conference was that there is a dearth of people going into historic preservation at the academic level. Ball State the program is very under full.
Wow.
And we are seeing across all disciplines that liberal arts are underfilled at college level, so that may also just be a part of where we are.
Yeah.
I think, Don, for broaching this subject tonight, because I've been thinking about this for months. I do think we have got a fantastic board right now. Everyone on this board is just fantastic, and what they bring, if you will, to the table is incredible. But I think all of us are incredibly busy. And we need that extra spot filled. I feel guilty, truly, Drew. So much of it's left, you know, racing around at the 11th hour, trying to get quorum and all. And again, what an incredible board we have. But if we could get that one spot filled, I think it would give us a little relief, where when someone has this, we've still got that extra spot. So I'm welcome to any kind of suggestions. I know Don has mentioned, and our friend to his right has mentioned possibilities. Maybe all of us need to move this forward because I think we're all feeling the pinch. Thank you, Devin.
I was gonna ask Drew the question, right now, is it eligible, is it open to anybody, whether it's city or county, or do we need a specific county person to fill the balance? I can't remember what our balance is right now.
So I believe that Danielle was living in the city.
Okay,
But I think that there's a limit on how many city
right.
residents we can have, but there's
Less
no
than
limit.
half. Yeah,
Yes, but I don't think that there's a limit to how many county residents.
yeah, because we had, and we had expanded that because we had such difficulty finding people for the board, that we eventually decided to expand to allow for a minority of people who lived within the city limits to apply. I also encourage people, as you're searching for people to recruit, also keep in mind that we have all these special projects and events that we like to do. And so even if they do not become a member of the board, or even if they're not selected to become a member of the board, I would definitely encourage people to find ways to keep those people in our sphere and have them involved, because there will be openings in the future, and it would be nice to have people who have already worked with us on some of our special projects or initiatives that we have, be the ones to step into some new board positions when they open up.
Yeah, some of us will be coming up for reappointment, I guess, at the end of the year. I never got officially reappointed, I just keep coming, so. That's what's gonna happen at the end of the year.
Drew, shenanigans in that thing about how that would all work out. It all sounded like it was perfectly okay.
I would say to both of you, just go ahead and ask all those people, because we're gonna get more no's than we will yeses, I would think. If we ask 4 people, we might get a yes, and that would be great.
Mhm.
Set myself a reminder to post on the Facebook page too, so I'll put a link to the application. Yeah, that's how I found it back in the day.
Yeah, me too.
That'd be
And
wonderful.
then you can point them to that too.
I think I discovered it in the HT. It was kind of a Bible newspaper.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It's delivered.
Yeah, and just keep in mind also when you're talking to people, because sometimes people will be very fired up because of a city issue. Like they might be ultra enthusiastic because they think they're gonna finally get to have a say on an issue that's within the city. Just make sure that they know what our jurisdiction is. And so some of the hot button issues that they might have a real passion for might have a parallel in the county, but also might be a city only issue at this point in time. So it's very easy for people to think that we're all the same. That we are the history center, and that we are the city board, and that we are anything having to do with history. So just kind of watch that in your conversations as well.
So where will the application be available?
It's on the county website.
Okay.
So.
And then I can put a link
Still
to
link
it.
it, and
Good, great.
and I'll share it with Monroe County History Club, because there's a lot of people there that do have time.
Yeah, thank you, Don. Thank you, Susan, pushing it forward.
All right, so the next items on our agenda are old business. So I will go by each of them. You'll note that many of them do not have a page number, and that will normally correspond with I do not have any updates regarding that particular item. But I will briefly mention each of them. First one is potential overlay district for Sunset Hill. So the contact for that project, that potential project, has not reached back out to me after our initial exchange with all the details of what HP overlay is and what the process looks like, all of that. Coordination letter for the High Street multi-use path. I did reach back out to the project coordinator regarding that project to ask for any updates. I also reached out to the city, and they both stated that there was not any progress on that project. NDOT early coordination letter for the State Road 46 from the 446 intersection to the west junction of State Road 135. Do not have any updates regarding that one. I believe I sent out a message to that project coordinator as well. I did not receive a response, if I remember correctly. Bloomington Ops Tower project. There's no response from there. And as a refresher, we sent a objection comment to their proposed communications tower. Be located in that area. It's near Simpson Chapel. Future roadwork project on ramp to I-69 via West Road, Stone Lake Drive. That one was one that members of the board brought forth, and I do not have any updates regarding that one.
May I interject?
Yes.
Of all things, today, just today in our mail, we were sent an update of the Arlington Road, Stone Lake Drive. Yeah, and I, wasn't sure if you would have it. And so what I will do, if it's okay with everyone, I will scan the letter tomorrow at the office, and then I will mail everything to all of the email. Okay, yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I heard anecdotally from somebody who knows somebody who rented that house there at the corner, the bungalow that's there, that they had a short-term agreement with the landlord because the landlord knew activity was going to be going on with that. So it seems like there's definitely some more buzz around it more recently. So I'm glad to hear that you received a letter that you'll be able to share with us.
Yeah.
Is it the yellow house that's there?
It's whatever bungalow is at the top of the hill right next to the bridge, and I think it is yellow.
I think it's yellow. Okay.
And I've already been in discussions with Bloomington Restorations about it, so I'll nudge Steve again on that, just to let him know that things are starting to happen again with that.
I did skim the letter, but I don't have everything verbatim. And at the tail end, there is a public meeting scheduled. And so anyone who wants to go to that, you'll be able to see the time, place, all that jazz. I'll get it to you tomorrow. Thanks.
Okay, all right, thank you for those updates. The last item, the Federal Highway project, Mid-States Corridor Project Tier 1, final environmental impact statement, that is on page 7. So we did receive some updates regarding this one. Essentially, it's just an update that the final environmental impact statement has been completed and is up for review. When I looked through this update, I noted that they have some alternative options for the corridor, but again, none of it is pertaining directly to Monroe County, at least with any new changes. So here's a map of Mid-State corridor. I believe we last talked about this. It was left at, there doesn't seem to be any issue with it with respect to Monroe County. I will open up the floor to discussion or questions. You can read through some of this as well if anyone wants me to. In the packet, there's lots of information. There's some maps as well in here.
So the road that they're proposing is not gonna come through Monroe County?
Correct.
There was an earlier iteration that it might have. That is. It's like it's off the menu now.
Okay.
Okay, if no one has anything to mention regarding that. That brings us to new business. So new business this month, we have several section 106 letters. First one, related to Habitat for Humanity. This is in the city's jurisdiction. It's at 1505 North Breckenridge Road. It's a newer, housing development. I believe most of it is students, but then there's this portion to the north that will be a Habitat for Humanity development. So this came from our counterparts in the city. This is the location. These rental units, housing units to the south of North Telluride Street. Like I stated, I believe those are student housing. And then this North Breckenridge Loop area. That is the proposed Habitat for Humanity area. But again, this is in the city's jurisdiction, so you would just have comments, if any, regarding this project.
Just curious, the reference to student housing in this location is a little confusing to me.
They're the more expensive apartments, I guess, not like IU student, but in that they're owned by Indiana University. They're just typically rented to students because they're expensive new apartments.
Yes, I only mentioned that because if you've driven out there, you would see that it is very clearly marketed towards young adults attending college. Just to spark a.
But it could be locals.
Conversation. Sure. Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
It was just meant to say, if you've driven past it, you've noticed it, and me mentioning it, it might remind you that where you are.
Okay.
The location of it, yeah.
Tiny living rooms, 6 bedrooms, your stuff like that.
Yeah, weird stuff like that.
I don't know if that's a fact, but probably close to it.
Can you remind us where the county's jurisdiction begins on Arlington Road? Because I know with all the annexation talk and things like that, that it can sometimes get a little bit muddled where the city actually ends.
Yes, I can pull it up. In 1 second.
Debbie, with this,
Of course, we know they're
Hunter
little-
Valley.
They're little
That's
donut
not-
sections.
Debbie, do you have this, would this be considered Hunter Valley, that area? It's right on.
It could, I'd have to look at the map if, I know where all the development is. The housing development that used to be owned by Rogers. Yes.
Were there quarries in that area earlier? I mean, it's right near. Where
What?
this is being proposed.
I would say, I can't say that it's got to be right over, because that was probably like the 1880s, 90s, but I would say yes. Ralph Rogers, I'm trying to, if you will, without me looking at this, I'm trying to acclimate here, 17th Street. And if you would turn into this Telluride. I don't know the name of the housing, all of it now. Does anyone know the name of it? That was
Did, but now.
Ralph Rogers, yeah, and I'm sure it was more aggregate than
Yes,
it was
gravel.
dimensional. Those are two key words as far as scope. Yes, and I would say it was definitely part of Hunter Valley, but you know, do I have any definitive maps? Not at this point. I'd have to go back to that Bletchley
Mhm.
map, and then we would have to try to determine, what was that, 1889, and determine the streets and everything in comparison, yeah.
Right, because there's that little row, and isn't that the like Chandlersville area that we've talked about before, that row of houses that's kind of sandwiched between well, just south of the bypass on, is it labeled as like Oak or 20th Street? I can't remember what that little street is. It's kind of across from Gorley.
To my understanding, Gorley and what you're kind of talking about, Chandlersville, like the tambling machines, that's what I'm saying. That would have been parts of Monroe Street, Gorley Pike. And there are maps, because I have seen that. So Bill Williams, who used to be with the Monroe County Highway Department, he and I discussed this years ago. But again, I'd have to go back to the office, Devin, and, you know, go through some of the maps that I have to come up with that, to give everyone a definitive answer. But yes, Chandlersville. But again, I'm thinking more Gorley Pike.
Yeah.
Bill Street, and on both sides of Arlington, so. But
Well, and this would have been one of those discussions that it would have been nice, you know, a couple of years ago, had we been able to have a similar conversation as with the Hunter Valley folks about some of the things from this area historically, because it might have impacted how they thought about the area or how they thought about naming, instead of imposing Colorado place names on Monroe County. Maybe using some of the Monroe County place names that we already have. So that's just one of those kind of rear view mirror things that I guess anytime you hear conversations that we might be a consulting party on, or, you know, more directly involved with, that we do have a wealth of information about place names and history of areas. So we can avoid having, you know, some of these other place names just superimposed on Monroe County.
That's part of the marketing concept, isn't it? I mean, if they wanna
Well,
market
it
their,
is.
have Telluride Street, you know,
Atlas.
I don't think they had a clue. I don't think, but I do know the Quarry District or Quarry Industry, both sides of Arlington. 37, and then it's now 69. A lot of that was quarry property. And again, as you're talking about some of the little bungalows and all, those were just like what you're mentioning in Muncie. With the, you know, the homes for a lot of the people who worked in the industry. A lot of times the companies bought that property and then would either lease or sell those. Austin, Indiana, they did the same thing down there, Pines for the workers and all.
I talked to a woman whose parents had built a limestone house off right here in Monroe Street. And she had talked about how her family was part of the stone industry in terms of carvers. And we had a nice conversation. So I wasn't aware that area, a lot of the workers had built houses.
If it's okay, what I'll do is I'll go back to the office tomorrow and I will look up, you know, what I can find as far as Chandlersville, as well as you all have the map of Hunter Valley and
No opposition to Habitat for Humanity homes going here, but I'd wanna, before we would give a board approval, I would want us to look at the historical maps and then make a recommendation based on that. I don't-
Is this the grouping or is it the second one that has the container houses in it? I don't think I've been confused in my head.
There are some older homes on Arlington there that are those modest worker homes. I don't know if the county though, that could be affected by the increased traffic. Already that apartment has increased the traffic.
Well, yeah, then anytime you get increased traffic, we have to watch, for road widening and when it's a historic
Yeah.
roadway. And how it affects those houses along it that are very close to the road. I mean, you can see on South Walnut is such a great example of how close a road can get to a front porch of a bungalow.
They're already pretty close as is there, so if the road were to be widened, it would probably take the homes. Are in
And I
the county or where does the county start?
It is all, this whole area is all city.
Okay,
Yeah, county jurisdiction doesn't really start until you go across.
okay.
So it's the other side.
Across the bridge.
Yeah. So everywhere that you don't see a color on this screen is city's jurisdiction.
Like the imagery is city and the colors.
Yes, the imagery would be city and the color are polygons are county symbols.
And going back to Susan's point from the conference, that is one of the things that we need to remind ourselves is that shift that's happened over the decades between, it used to be only a president's house or a place where a president slept was an important historic site. And then over the years coming to realize that there are plenty of other examples of everyday people and workers whose houses make up, these neighborhoods of historic sites. So I think when we're working with new builds or infill, I think keeping that element in mind that a neighborhood like a Habitat neighborhood is going to actually mirror a lot of what the area would have been historically as well. So as far as smaller 2, maybe 3-bedroom nowadays homes.
Did they give us a time frame for responding?
Yes, let's look back at this one. So this was one of the items that was on the September agenda. Typically, I think it's 30 days.
Yeah.
Which would be a bit past. I think they would always still appreciate. To meet project guidelines, if you'd like to be a consulting partner in this project, can you please let us know of your interest within 30 days? Initial concerns with impacts of the project on religious or cultural properties, can you please note them in your response? That was dated August 31st. So we are a bit behind in that timeline, but as I stated, I think sending something regardless is helpful.
What does everyone think about just saying we'd like to be a consulting party because it's for quarry areas? And I like just leave it at that. And then
Yeah, I agree.
and we're sorry, we're a little late.
Next item. It's another 106 letter for new sidewalk and accessibility ramp. This is at 410 West Kirkwood Avenue, again, in the city's jurisdiction. This letter came from our city counterparts. So this one is, let me read here again. Located at 410 West Kirkwood Avenue. Site is a non-contributing structure in the scope of work that breaks ground consists of completing site work and excavation, especially regarding utility connections and utility permit. Building a new ADA accessible sidewalk on the west and south side of the building, including a ramp and staircase, and installing walkway pavers. We do have a map again, this one. Here's West Kirkwood Avenue, and then on the to the east is North Morton Street. So here we have city's map that was generated, the Shard database.
I'm just surprised that it's not been done before. Of all places, that facility should have accessible sidewalks.
Pictures here. And I'll open it up for any questions, comments.
Is that across the street from that Galley Antiques? Is that what I'm seeing in the background right
Yes.
there?
Mhm.
Yeah, I would say the only thing to really watch for is when it is a historic sidewalk, how we interact with that. I think pretty much everything that's there now is a modern yet maybe not as accessible as it should be sidewalk that's due for an upgrade. But from time to time, there will be issues that come up where it'll be either like the early sidewalk that's in front of the building on Dunn Street, or in some of those other neighborhoods, you will get a very specific limestone pattern of pavers, many of which are have long since been eliminated. So there's areas like that to kind of watch, but I feel like this area is one of those that's already been touched so much that that this is really just an improvement for accessibility and doesn't impede anything historic.
There's still some of those really wonderful sidewalks. We used to play hopscotch on them, and the Bryant Park, Dunn Street area, there's still some left near Templeton and on Lincoln and Washington Street, but they are far and few between.
Yeah.
Do we want to remain with updates?
I don't think we need to. I don't see that there's any. That would be my opinion.
I agree. It said on the letter, if you don't wish to have any updates, just don't respond.
Okay. Next item. Page 86, another section 106 letter. And this is from, again, the city of Bloomington. It's 1020 North Monroe Street. And this is a physical improvement grant. They are using funds in the construction of an early learning center. A two-story building will be built at the northeast corner of 14th Street and Monroe Street. First floor will consist of 3 early child care classrooms and a walled playground to the east. Second floor will consist of 3 bedroom affordable apartments accessed by an exterior staircase from the parking lot to the south of the building. And they'll be applying for CDBG funds to purchase and install a playground, the wall and the fencing. So
I'm confused about where, is that where this blue dot is?
This is where the water tower used to be, Susan.
Okay.
Yeah. Right there by Dyer, the old water tower.
Oh, okay.
So it's across from like a Habitat. There's a row of Habitat houses there across the street. And then some of the existing neighborhood houses there on the same side of the street.
when did that water tower come down?
I think within the past couple of years, it surprised me when it wasn't there one time when I.
Yeah, I remember it. That whole area went through urban renewal in the sixties and pretty much plowed everything under.
Yeah, but it was definitely there. I mean, it's still in the picture on the GIS, the water tower is still there, so I think it's fairly recently that it came down. I should ask my public works sister if she knows the date.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's the highest point in that area, isn't it?
Yeah, that's at the top of the hill.
Yeah. Is there any reason to? They would do some testing of the soil before they start building, right?
You would hope. You would hope.
Do you have concerns
I didn't
about?
know, I didn't know if that was a standard thing that you would check, just to make sure you're not building on an old graveyard or something.
Yeah, that, I mean, that is a good point, especially with the number of settlements and things on finger ridges and stuff like that in the county. That hopefully there is some degree of archaeological survey. Since that is such a high point on the hill and that there is a possibility. I don't want to be a wrench thrower in their obviously socially important project. But it might be good to even just make sure that if there's anything prehistoric there, because of the significance of the height of that hill and the fact that a lot of
You pretty much see the city from there.
yeah, a lot of native artifacts tend to be found on ridges in the county, so I don't know, it might be worth mentioning that.
Looks like a neat building for children's education. Fun.
Definitely be nice for the neighborhood to have that.
Oh, for the neighborhood, absolutely. It's really besieged up there.
So I can send them a note that just says. Something along the lines of, we don't have any comment, it's in the city's jurisdiction, but we advise some form of. Geological survey or soil testing for these reasons, being higher top. Elevation.
Right, thank you.
I think that's a good idea because that water tank was probably there before. It was there for a long time and who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who
it
knows
could have been there, they probably didn't look for it when
They
you put
were
the tower.
looking when they put it up.
Right, exactly.
It's been a long time. We came down a couple years ago.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
All right, that brings us to our last item. Which is the work plan updates. So that's on page 96, the last page. I went ahead and updated it a little bit before our what would have been the September meeting. So I crossed off some things that would have happened after that. I will go ahead and cross off attend the Preserving Historic Places Conference because, as we mentioned earlier, Susan attended that. But other than that, I will open it up for board members to discuss.
Drew, is this a year that you need documentation or is this an off year?
This is a year we need documentation.
Okay. So basically, anybody who hasn't done an activity this year, do we have the list of recommendations as far as, read a book, attend a conference, attend a workshop? Do we have that list somewhere?
Down here in the board education part, we do have those items listed.
Okay, yep, I see them now. They're right in front of me. So yeah, if between now and December 31st, if you can get some of those things in, and even going back to some of the history club presentations might be worthwhile, especially I know Susan, you did theirs back in May. So anybody who's not able to attend that, I recommend checking that one out. But I think there's definitely a lot of good things out there. And if anybody needs recommendations or is kind of stumped, probably those of us who've been doing it for a while can give each other some tips. So yeah, just know between now and December 31st to get those activities in.
Drew attended camp, did you know that?
Yep, I did attend camp. It was very informative. There were some really
They were
good,
good speakers.
there were, yeah.
Sometimes they're kind of dull, but and Debbie did too.
Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed the information that they provided there. Had some really cool stuff. There was one speaker from Los Angeles that had a lot of really interesting things to say.
I actually thought it was one of their better camps.
I thought so too, if I compare the two I've been to, I
Uh-huh.
thought it was far better.
No disrespect to some of the others I've attended, but this one stood out.
And I think I sent an email out to everyone that had some resources to that camp. Did I do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
I have lots of drafts in my stuff. But yeah, there's lots of resources that they provided. And you can check those out at any time. You can watch some of the videos or talks, that sort of stuff.
I did, last time we were meeting in person, I had proposed some changes language, but I hadn't had a chance to get that typed up. Apologize. It's been kind of torn in multiple ways here, so I'll try to have that in November.
Yeah, and then we usually try to revisit these in January or at least early in the year. So if there's anything that you see thematically that's changed over this past year, or things that maybe could go together that weren't together before or anything like that, those are just some thoughts to kind of bring into the new year as we get closer.
Probably wait until then.
I know that I had touched on updating the website with the new webmaster.
Yes.
He has been tasked with learning the entire OpenGov system, which is the county's online
Of
permitting
course.
software.
Of course he knows.
Yes, because in the meantime, between webmasters and the application of OpenGov, the planning department, due to their massive amount of input at the beginning stages, had kind of become the de facto go-to department if anyone had questions about OpenGov, and that is not our responsibility. So we are having the webmaster learn all OpenGov things, kind of getting him brought up to speed with that so that he can become the go-to person within TSD for all of that. He's doing a great job learning all of this. So I have not reached out to him anymore about getting the website updated, but I will send him an email and set up a time. It shouldn't be hard. It should be very easy. And I know that there's those.
Get the meeting, and I think legally we need to have that meeting.
Yeah.
Should get changed.
I agree. Yes, that note that you sent me to me as well, I'll have.
I had noticed for everybody's benefit that the website still says we're meeting in the Natu Hill. Which is, someone could claim that they went there and we weren't there and make a stink, so it's important that it's important that we be honest about where we're meeting, not hiding.
Okay.
Most people don't read the website, but they want to take call or whatever. And maybe Polly, when you're on the Facebook page, just remind people. Oh, where we meet, no, I don't, where we meet, and then, then you can come and check it out.
see if it's right for you. Yeah, yeah.
You have anything else?
Just keeping everything together.
Yeah.
Go adjourn.
Great, there's a motion and a second to adjourn, and we're done. It's 6:21.
I can make it.
Devin for attending.
Thanks,
Virtual
Devin.
meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, TSD, and helping us. Stop share.
Tomorrow.